Hey friend, imagine this: it's pouring rain outside, thunder cracking like the sky is breaking apart, and there's a desperate knock at your door at 2 a.m. You're a widowed dad still learning how to breathe without the woman you loved, and when you open that door, a soaked, barefoot woman looks up at you with eyes full of terror and whispers, "Is there any space in your bed tonight? I have nowhere else to go." You have no idea that in that single moment, your entire broken world is about to be put back together in the most beautiful, unexpected way. Stick with me until the very last word of this story, because what happens next will remind you why kindness is never wasted, why second chances are real, and why sometimes the person who saves you is the one you never saw coming. This is the story of how she asked if there was space in my bed, and how I ended up asking her to stay forever. My name is Ryan, and 3 years earlier my world had ended on a rainy highway just like this one. Grace, my wife, my best friend, the mother of our 6-year-old son Caleb, had been taken in a car accident that left me holding pieces of a life I no longer recognized. Since that day I had become a ghost in my own house, going through the motions for Caleb, smiling when he needed me to, but inside I was empty. Our little home in Asheville, North Carolina, felt too big, too quiet, too full of memories that hurt to touch. I kept her favorite mug on the shelf. I still made coffee for 2 every morning and poured the second cup down the sink. I told myself I was surviving. I told myself that was enough. That night the storm was vicious. Caleb was already asleep upstairs, clutching the stuffed bear Grace had given him on his 5th birthday. I was on the couch, staring at the ceiling, when the knock came, soft at first, then frantic. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by the door, old habit from when Grace used to tease me about being overprotective, and cracked the door open. There she was. Hannah Collins. My neighbor from 3 houses down, the one I'd only ever waved at while mowing the lawn. She was drenched, barefoot, wearing nothing but an oversized sweater and leggings that clung to her like a second skin. Her long brown hair stuck to her face, and her left cheek had a fresh bruise blooming purple under her eye. She was shaking so hard I could hear her teeth chattering over the rain. "Ryan. I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "Tyler, I ran. I didn't know where else to go. Please, is there any space in your bed tonight? Just to sleep. I swear I won't be any trouble. I just need to be somewhere safe for one night." My heart slammed against my ribs. I knew Tyler, big guy, loud truck, always yelling at her when they fought in the driveway. I'd heard the screams through the walls more than once but had never stepped in, telling myself it wasn't my business. Now here she was, asking me for the one thing I had sworn I would never share again, my bed, the bed I still slept on the left side of because the right side still smelled like Grace's lavender lotion. I should have said no. I should have called the police, given her blankets, sent her on her way. But something in her eyes, pure, raw fear mixed with the tiniest spark of hope, cracked open the wall I'd built around my heart. Caleb's voice echoed in my head, "Daddy, Miss Hannah always waves at me when I ride my bike." And before I could overthink it, I stepped aside. "Come in," I said, my voice rough from disuse. "You're safe here." She stepped over the threshold like she was crossing into another universe. I grabbed towels from the hall closet, the ones Grace had embroidered with little flowers, and handed them to her without a word. While she dried off in the bathroom, I made tea, chamomile, the kind Caleb drank when he had nightmares. When she came out, wrapped in my old gray hoodie that swallowed her whole, she looked smaller, younger, and somehow even more fragile. "I can sleep on the couch," I offered. She shook her head, eyes filling with tears. "No. Please. I need to feel safe. Just tonight. I'll leave at first light. I promise." So I gave her my bed. I tucked her in like I used to tuck Grace in after long hospital shifts, pulling the quilt up to her chin. She reached out and squeezed my hand once, so briefly I almost thought I imagined it. "Thank you," she whispered, and then she was asleep, exhausted, trusting, safe for the first time in years. I spent the night on the couch staring at the ceiling again, but this time the emptiness felt different. There was a woman in my bed who wasn't Grace, and instead of guilt, I felt something terrifying, alive. Caleb would wake up in a few hours and ask questions. The town would talk. Tyler would come looking. But for the first time in 3 years, someone else needed me, and I didn't feel like I was drowning anymore. I felt like maybe, just maybe, the storm had brought something worth keeping. The next morning Caleb padded downstairs in his dinosaur pajamas and stopped dead when he saw Hannah at the kitchen table, sipping coffee and looking like she'd been through war. "Miss Hannah? Why are you here?" She smiled at him, the first real smile I'd seen on her face, and it lit up the whole room. "Your dad let me stay because the storm was really scary last night. Is that okay with you, buddy?" Caleb thought about it for 2 whole seconds, then climbed into her lap like he'd known her forever. "Can you help me with my reading homework? Daddy says the words are tricky." That was the beginning. 1 night turned into 3. 3 turned into a week. Hannah found a job at the little bookstore downtown, the one with the creaky wooden floors and the cat that slept in the window. She started paying me a tiny bit of rent, just until I get on my feet, even though I told her it wasn't necessary. She cooked dinners that didn't taste like grief, spaghetti with meatballs that made Caleb dance around the kitchen, pancakes shaped like hearts on Saturday mornings. She planted flowers in the backyard where Grace's rose bushes had died because I couldn't bear to tend them. Yellow daisies. Bright, stubborn, reaching for the sun. But challenges came fast and hard. Tyler showed up on day 9, pounding on my door at dusk, reeking of whiskey. "Where is she?" "Hannah. You tell that bitch to come home." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me so Caleb wouldn't hear. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steel. "She's not going anywhere with you. She's safe. You need to leave." He laughed, ugly and mean. "You think you can play hero, single dad? She'll come crawling back. She always does." But she didn't. That night, after Tyler finally drove off, Hannah sat on the edge of my bed, our bed now in the strangest, gentlest way, and cried until there were no tears left. "I thought I deserved it," she whispered. "He told me I was nothing without him. That no one else would ever want me. I believed him for so long." I sat beside her, not touching, just present. "You are everything, Hannah. And you're home now. For as long as you need." Inside, though, I was terrified. Every laugh she shared with Caleb, every time her hand brushed mine while washing dishes, every night she fell asleep on the couch and I carried her to bed like she belonged there, I felt myself falling. And falling meant the possibility of losing again. I couldn't survive another goodbye. So I kept my distance emotionally, even as my heart screamed otherwise. Weeks turned into months. Spring melted into summer, and our little house filled with sounds I thought I'd never hear again, laughter echoing off the walls, Caleb's squeals when Hannah pushed him on the swing I'd finally fixed, the soft hum of her voice reading bedtime stories. The town talked, of course. Whispers at the grocery store. Side eyes at the park. That poor widower, taking in that girl from the bad relationship. Wonder how long before she breaks his heart too. I ignored them. Because every day Hannah was healing. She started therapy on Tuesdays, coming home lighter each time. She stood taller. She laughed without covering her mouth like she used to when Tyler made her feel small. And Caleb. God, Caleb adored her. He started calling her Hannah Mom by accident one night, then froze, terrified he'd ruined everything. But Hannah just pulled him into her arms and whispered, "I'd be the luckiest person in the world to be your Hannah Mom, if that's okay with your daddy." That night I lay awake for hours, heart pounding. Was it okay? Could I let someone else love my son? Could I let someone else love me? The real test came in late July. Hannah had saved enough for her own apartment, a tiny studio above the bookstore. She showed me the lease papers one evening while Caleb was at a sleepover with his best friend. Her hands trembled as she slid them across the table. I think it's time, she said quietly. You've given me everything, Ryan. Safety. Time. A family. I can never repay you. But I need to stand on my own feet now. I need to prove to myself that I'm not broken. My world tilted. The thought of her leaving, of coming home to silence again, of Caleb asking where Hannah Mom went, felt like drowning all over again. I stared at those papers until the words blurred. Don't, I whispered. My voice cracked like the boy I used to be before life taught me how to be afraid. Don't go. She looked up, eyes wide. Ryan. I took her hands in mine, hands that had held Grace's, hands that had buried her, hands that had learned to let go. But now they were learning to hold on again. 3 years ago I lost the love of my life. I thought that was it for me. Then you knocked on my door in the middle of the worst storm I'd ever seen, and you asked if there was space in my bed. I gave you that space because I couldn't turn you away. But somewhere between the pancakes and the flower garden and the way you make Caleb laugh like the sun is shining even on rainy days, I fell in love with you. Not because you needed saving. Because you saved me. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she was smiling, the most radiant smile I'd ever seen. I'm not asking you to move into my bed as a roommate anymore, I continued, voice thick. I'm asking you to stay forever. As my partner. As Caleb's Hannah Mom. As the woman I choose every single day for the rest of my life. Will you stay forever, Hannah? She didn't answer with words at first. She just crawled into my lap, wrapped her arms around my neck, and kissed me like she'd been waiting her whole life to do it. Soft, trembling, full of every unsaid promise between us. Yes, she whispered against my lips. Forever. We didn't rush. She moved into the guest room officially, then, months later, into our room, our bed, when the time felt right. Caleb was the ring bearer at our quiet backyard wedding under the yellow daisies she'd planted. He walked her down the aisle holding her hand, whispering, I always knew you'd be my mom. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the night she knocked on my door, I got down on one knee again in that same backyard, this time with a simple diamond ring that caught the sunset just right. I asked you to stay forever once, I said. Now I'm asking you to marry me all over again, every day, for the rest of our lives. She said yes through happy tears, and we danced barefoot in the grass while Caleb spun around us like the happiest kid in the world. Friend, if you're still here, I hope you heard the message in your heart. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is open the door when someone knocks in the dark. Kindness isn't weakness, it's the bridge that carries broken people home. Love isn't always fireworks and perfect timing, sometimes it's tea at 2 a.m., bruised cheeks, and choosing to stay even when fear tells you to run. Hannah and I didn't fix each other. We stood beside each other while we healed ourselves. And that, I've learned, is the most powerful love of all. So next time life brings a storm and someone asks you for space, just a little space, remember this story. Because you might just end up asking them to stay forever. And if you believe in second chances, in kindness that changes everything, and in love that grows from the deepest pain, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and type "forever" in the comments. I'll be reading every single one, because I know now that none of us are ever truly alone. Thank you for staying until the end. Your heart is beautiful. Never forget that.